All right. So we got one more thing to do, but you guys can eat your pizza while you do it. So the big reason we did this article is because we're going to tie it into our next unit, which is modeling. And you guys saw some modeling in there, right? They're talking about different planes and turning into cylinders, and they're talking about representing triangles as pizza and representing cylinders as different shapes in the world. And really that's what modeling is. It's taking 3D or 2D geometrical shapes and projecting them onto things in the real world. So for today, what we're going to do is we're going to look at some 3D shapes in the real world, and we're going to see if we can project what shape they are geometrically. So if we can decide as a class geometrically what shape these objects are. So the first one, we're going to start easy, okay?
A box.
A box. This is a Kylie Jenner lip kit of some sort, I'm assuming.
It's my girl.
So, how about this? If we're looking at this as a 3D shape, what is this?
A box.
A box, okay. But more than that, what is another name for a box in 3D? Think back to what we've been learning.
A cube.
There you go. So, a cube, really what we're looking at is a projected rectangle, right? Because if this is our 3D object, we can take it and look at it straight on from any plane. Let's see if I can get that for the camera. And we're looking at it as a rectangle. So all boxes are is projected squares, rectangles, and then we get cubes and boxes and all that. So next object we're going to do is
a cylinder.
There you go. Some Tevana tea, and it's a cylinder, right? So what is a cylinder projected from? That's the question. What are the profiles of a cylinder? So if we're looking at it this way, one direction, circle, right? But then what about the other direction? This one's a little tricky, right?
Yeah.
So if we had to trace this, I don't know if you can see this, maybe you can, the shadow. What would the shadow of this look like?
A rectangle.
A rectangle, there you go. So that's another way that we can recognize that. As far as Gauss goes, this is a Gaussian flat subject, is because one of the profiles of the projection is a square.
Got it.
How about this? This is a little bit funkier of a shape, right? There's a couple different things that we could do here, but if we're just looking at this, right? Just this ball.
A circle.
A circle, right? But what is the name of this, right? Like, what is the 3D projection of this called?
A sphere.
Yeah, there you go. And a sphere is projected from what shape? In this direction.
A circle.
Circle. And then what about the other direction? Actually, you can see there's a nice little cutout here.
A circle.
There you go. So, remember the Gaussian direction, the two projections. Yep, we got a circle and a circle. So in both directions we have Gaussian curvature.
Got it.
When we're projecting things, right, we're not always going to have, in the real world, right, we're not always going to have our nice boxes and our nice spheres, right? Like, obviously we're going to have shapes that are more difficult, that are made up of compositions of these. So part of what we need to be able to do for this class is to be able to look at things and project different shapes from them, or pick out the different shapes. So my complex example for us today,
A
so
vacuum.
the camera can see it. Yeah, it's a vacuum. So we look at this and there's a whole ton of different shapes here, right? Why don't you just...
A square, a sphere, another sphere for the hose.
A sphere?
Or no, a cylinder.
Cylinder,
so square,
right.
cylinder, cylinder.
We could call this a box or a square.
The wheels are like a sphere. Kind of.
Cylinder, yeah. We've got different cylinders. We've got cylinder here. We've got a cylinder here.
Yep.
So what is the use of this, right? Like, what is the use of this projection? Do you have any
I thought you meant the
ideas?
vacuum, and I was like, to
Wow.
clean things. It's so you can.
Just take a guess. We haven't learned this yet, so this
Okay,
is...
so it's just like to know what certain things are. And
Yeah. So
how core shapes are made up, or like the
Right.
like base of all the bigger shapes.
So the more that we, yeah, thank you. The more that we know about a shape, the more we can do with it. So, say, take this box our good friend Kylie Jenner sent us. We can look at this, right, and we can see that this is projected, and we can see that this is a box or a cube. Well, it's not quite a cube, but it's a projected rectangle. And we can find the area of this pretty easily, right? Like we can measure different bits of it. We know the formula for squares. We know the formulas for rectangles. So we can find the area of this pretty easy. But even for a shape like this, we could do pretty easy, right? Well, relatively easy. You know, we've got circles. We know different circles. We could probably work this pretty easy. Same thing with our cylinders. Something like this, though, oops. We don't have an area formula for a vacuum, right? So if we're working on problems where we have to find the area of a complex shape, we got to section it off. And that means you got to look at it, you got to recognize, okay, cylinder, another cylinder, rectangle, and you got to find the individual parts. And that's really what the next 2 weeks of class are going to focus on. That's pretty much it. So that's pretty much the total complete package of modeling, well, at least an introduction to modeling through pizza.
Good job.
So thank you. Goodbye. Cut.